good genetics. If you listen to bodybuilders talk on the internet for whatever reason, because you're interested in vegan politics, or hear a lot of talk about good genetics. What does good genetics really mean? Does it mean that you look good with your shirt off? Does it mean that with the right application of steroids, you look good with your shirt off? Because how you absorb the steroids, how the type of utilization your body makes of the steroids, the results you get with the steroids, that's genetic too, right? What if good genetics has more to do with whether or not you make yourself into a cripple or a drug addict, whether or not you spend the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life walking with a cane, taking opiates, coping with chronic pain brought on ultimately by a combination of your own competitive spirit and simple vanity.
So I really want to connect with you guys in a way that is very transparent, and I feel like I haven't been able to do that because I've been going through a long period of deciding, contemplating what I want to do with this channel. Do I want to delete it? Do I want to throw it away?
When I stopped being plant-based in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, I was experiencing some joint pain and some back pain. That was resolved within a very short amount of time after eating animal products in the beginning of 2020, beginning of last year. So that meat eating period didn't last very long, so I went back into a plant-based diet and felt great in the beginning. Again, just like I felt great for 5 years or almost 6 years doing it. It didn't get bad until October of last year, where my joints in my wrist and my shoulder went completely painful. It was horrible even to move, not even when lifting weights, but just, moving around in normal life. And so I decided to give it another shot with eating meat. And so I ate meat and eggs and animal products again that we have here locally. And within a very short amount of time, my joint pain started to decrease rapidly. And I had kind of given up going to the gym and decided to quit the gym altogether. But since my joint pain has drastically reduced and is almost non-existent at this point, I decided to go back into the gym full-time around 1 month ago, training almost every day, starting slowly, etc. But it's been feeling amazing.
This is the part where we're all supposed to pretend that it's some scientific mystery as to why John Venus would experience intense joint pain. Why would a man looking the way he does at his age have intense pain in his wrists, in his elbows? I heard a documentary about a fire in a meat processing plant. It was notorious locally, but I think not really a famous enough accident to make national or international news. It was in the United States of America. And as you can imagine, both for insurance reasons and for sort of criminal investigation purposes, because it was suspected that management had mismanaged things in such a way that resulted in unnecessary deaths, they made a very careful inspection of all of the corpses. And it seemed that nearly every single dead body had multiple plastic vials of painkillers for joint pain. Drugs like Robaxacet. These were people working on an assembly line that takes pieces of chicken and covers them in breading and cooks them and freezes them so people can have the convenience of buying a box of ready-to-eat processed meat. It is basically like a 21st century sausage factory. People picking things up off of conveyor belts and putting them down, loading things onto shelves and racks. Just this moderate exertion, repeated over enough hours, was causing intense chronic joint pain to the point where the entire staff of this factory was high on painkillers during their workday, like morning, noon, and night. sooner or later, if you haven't already seen one, you will have seen an interview with a career wrestler, career boxer, anyone who's been a career athlete, especially if they pushed to keep that career going as long as possible into their middle age, about chronic joint pain. And how, there's one stage where they feel they're surrounded by athletes, all of whom are addicted to steroids. And then there's another phase of their career where they feel they're surrounded by athletes who are addicted to opiates because of the terrible pain in their joints, their difficulty sleeping. They take painkillers to make that possible. And then they take stimulants to make getting up and going to the gym possible. Or, painkiller addiction amongst professional wrestlers, exhibition wrestlers, pro athletes of that kind. It's at epidemic levels. There's no mystery as to why John Venus has chronic joint pain. The mysterious thing would be imagining that this is a condition that is caused by a vegan diet, or that could be cured by eating a non-vegan diet, by eating the combination of meat, milk, eggs that he has here so vaguely alluded to.
I have, grown as a person. Not saying that I've grown into a better, I'm too good for veganism or anything like that. I'm just different. I have a different perspective. And as life moves on, that's what happens. It's not going to have anything to do with vegan fitness or anything like that, although the similarities will be there. It's just that I'm not going to be vegan. I eat meat.
It's easy to talk about nature, and it's easy to talk about our natural limits. But we live our lives constantly ignorant as to what our own true nature might be, and we don't really know our natural limits until we discover them. I had a girlfriend once. Not going to tell you which girlfriend I'm thinking of. I've had many. I had a girlfriend once who came to me one day and said that she wanted to go and visit a doctor because her vagina was sore and she felt like maybe we had to take a break from having sex in a while. And it was this same kind of attitude, like, this is a mystery for the doctor to solve. And I remember I asked, how many times did we have sex yesterday? 8 times. Now, I remember the number was 8, because of the nature of this whole anecdote. I was like, all right. And the day before that, the day before, maybe it was 8, maybe it was 9, maybe it was 6. And the day before that, maybe it was 11. I don't know. It's like, look, if you go in to see a doctor and say, hey, my vagina is sore and I just have no idea why. And he says, oh, well, how many times have you been having sex per day? And you tell him the truth. You say, oh, well, yesterday I had sex 8 times. The doctor is going to look at you like you're completely insane and say, well, I think I've found the explanation for why you have a sore vagina. You've been pushing yourself to your limits. You've been reaching your natural limit for just basically how much friction you can endure. If you're crawling around on the floor on your hands and knees and scraping your knees up on the carpet for some reason, now, nothing real scientific about it. You've got a natural limit on how much friction your knees can endure before you start having physical pain, before you start having a problem. There is no mystery to be solved in explaining the chronic pain and fatigue that John Venus complains of. The mystery is explaining how it is that he's become so deeply committed to his own vanity that he wants to put in the work and for the next 10 years try to force his body past that natural limit that already did so much damage to him in the last 10 years. Why it is that he's willing to take this risk to end up like one of those old men in those wrestling documentaries and those boxing documentaries, to end up as one of those old men with a terrible, crippling chronic pain condition and quite possibly a drug habit to help manage the symptoms.